Pakistani killers who murdered people in the UK didn't just stop at the crime, they pulled a full-on disappearing act and bolted straight to Pakistan. Because clearly, if you're going to commit murder, the next logical step is international hide-and-seek. Who knew murderers had frequent flyer miles? 2 killers, 2 countries, 1 shocking truth. What if I told you that 2 different killers, years apart, committed brutal murders in the UK, then escaped justice by fleeing thousands of miles to Pakistan and Turkey? Sounds like a plot from a crime series, right? Nope. This actually happened. One case goes back to 2011, a horrifying double murder that left 2 people dead and a family shattered. The other happened in 2019, involving a man who was tortured, beaten, and killed in a gruesome act of violence that barely sounds real. Both crimes weren't just senseless, they were personal. Family ties twisted into betrayal, anger turned into bloodshed, and once the damage was done, the killers didn't stick around for justice. They ran, not just out of town, but out of the country. Gone, just like that. One ended up hiding in Pakistan, the other in Turkey, probably thinking they could outrun the law forever. What ties these cases together is more than just murder. It's the way international crime, family drama, and legal loopholes blend into something that feels way too wild to be true. It's one thing to commit a horrific crime. It's another to hop on a plane and act like the UK courts no longer exist. But hey, for some of these fugitives, that's just part of the plan. The drug empire, the family betrayal, and the vault of horror. Now let's talk about Bradford's very own drug kingpin, Tahir Tar. Said, if you thought crime lords only existed in movies, well, this guy was living the role like it was a full-time job with benefits. He ran a heroin and cocaine empire worth £125 million, which is not a typo. That's the kind of money that buys you silence, fear, and loyalty. But here's where it gets crazier. The drugs were being smuggled inside frozen chicken lorries. That's right, your local chicken delivery might have been carrying more than just wings. The guy even used a forklift to unload shipments himself. Because who needs underlings when the boss is hands-on, literally moving Class A drugs like he's restocking a warehouse? But the big twist? It wasn't some high-stakes raid or dramatic shootout that brought him down. Nope. It was encrypted phone messages, cracked through Operation Venetic, that exposed everything. All that fortune, all that fear, taken down by text messages. Just when you thought it couldn't get messier, boom, £600,000 in drug money goes missing. And we're not talking about small change lost down the back of a sofa. This was serious cash, vanishing right out of Tahir Said's empire, and he wasn't pointing fingers at some rival gang or street thug. No, he turned on his own blood, his uncle, Asghar Badshah. This guy wasn't a dealer or some crime world heavyweight. He was a bus driver. The kind of man who probably spent more time checking tickets than counting stacks of drug money. His big mistake? Agreeing to hold the money for his nephew without knowing the full madness behind it. That trust turned into pure chaos. Said, full of paranoia and thinking betrayal was brewing in his own family, forced Badshah into multiple lie detector tests. Not once, not twice, several times. Like he was trying to solve a crime show episode with polygraphs instead of evidence. The humiliation, the tension, the pressure. It all built up fast, and the suspicion never left. Then came the nightmare. On November 30th, 2019, Badshah was taken straight from his mother's house. One minute he was with family, the next he was dragged into the kind of horror you only hear about in true crime documentaries. They took him to an old Yorkshire bank vault in Batley. Yeah, a bank vault. Once used to store money, now used to destroy lives. What happened inside those walls was straight-up torture. 11 hours. That's how long they kept him there. And they didn't hold back. 48 injuries, all from blunt weapons. It wasn't just about getting answers. It was pure rage, punishment, and control. And when it was all over, they didn't panic. They got to work. His body was wrapped up, stuffed in the basement, and they even built a false wall to cover it. Like they thought they could actually bury the evidence along with the body. A torture chamber hidden in plain sight, with layers of betrayal, greed, and violence woven right into the walls. This wasn't just about missing money anymore. It was a full-on descent into calculated brutality, and it all started with family turning on family. After torturing his own uncle to death, Tahir Said didn't just disappear. He stuck around long enough to lie straight to the faces of Badshah's devastated family. He told them everything was fine, that Badshah was alive, safe, just laying low. And the family, already in shock and confusion, clung to that lie. On December 4th, they reported him missing, still hoping maybe he was hiding or scared or just keeping a low profile. They didn't know he was already dead, his body sealed behind a fake wall in a forgotten bank vault. It wasn't until December 29th that police found the truth. Not just a body, but a brutal murder scene disguised as a storage room. That discovery flipped everything, and while investigators were just piecing it together, Said was already gone. He'd pulled off a whole new vanishing act, slipping through borders using fake North Macedonian papers, not even subtle ones. Full-on false identity, no shame. From there, he disappeared across Europe like a ghost, eventually landing in Turkey and acting like none of it ever happened. Not a trace of guilt, just another criminal running free while a family was left in pieces. A double murder, a family cover-up, and another escape. Now jump back to 2011. Different case, same twisted chaos. This time in Bradford, where a double murder turned a quiet neighborhood into a horror scene. The killer, fueled by rage and betrayal. The victims, Ahmedine Seed Keel, who reportedly had an affair with the killer's wife, and Imran Khan, who just happened to be in the wrong place at the worst time. The weapon of choice? A hammer and a dumbbell. And the result? Pure carnage. The living room looked like a war zone. Blood soaking into the sofa, sprayed across the ceiling, like the violence had no off switch. It wasn't just a murder. It was an explosion of fury. And what did the killer do after all that? Dumped the bodies like trash by the side of the road, left them out in the open to be found by random drivers hours later. No cover-up, no attempt to hide, just raw, savage murder followed by a cold, casual discard. The killer in this twisted story was Muhammad Zubair, a Bradford taxi driver who somehow managed to turn his own family into accomplices in his great escape plan. When the police closed in, it wasn't just Zubair running scared. His mother, Arab Sultana, quickly stepped in and booked him a one-way ticket out of the country, making sure her son could vanish without a trace before authorities even had time to react. Meanwhile, his wife played along seamlessly, lying to investigators about his whereabouts, feeding them false leads, and covering up for him while the bodies of the victims were still fresh behind him, the house practically soaked in evidence. All of this happened in a matter of hours. In less than 24 hours, Zubair slipped off to Pakistan, leaving behind not only a double murder scene, but a trail of destruction, shattered lives, and a growing list of unanswered questions for detectives in the UK. But no matter how much they tried to hide the truth, the detectives had forensics on their side, and those don't lie. Blood spatter analysis told the real story. The brutal attack didn't happen out on the roadside, as they initially tried to make it appear. It happened inside the house, behind closed doors. Then there was the DNA evidence found in Zubair's Volkswagen taxi, linking him directly to both the murder and the grim disposal of the bodies. They thought cleaning the place would wash away the crime, but desperate scrubbing only made the forensic clues stand out more clearly. The invisible traces left behind were like little breadcrumbs leading straight back to Zubair. Both Muhammad Zubair and Tahir Said found their escape routes in countries where the UK's reach was anything but simple. Pakistan and Turkey became their hiding spots, safe zones where extradition battles would drag on for years.